The 37-kilometer rail line built by the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority is ready for inauguration. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his deputy Kadri Hamzat, the managing director of Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, some state executive council members, and the Lagos State Environmental Sanitation Enforcement Agency are out to inspect the infrastructure facilities of the Red Line station. The team embarked on a train ride from the Ikeja Mega Station, viewing Agbado, Agege, and Iju stations while on the test drive. While on board, Governor Sanwo-Olu moved along the coaches in a bid to ascertain the conditions. The train's set of Talgo wagons built in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the United States. Governor Sanwo-Olu returned to Ikeja train station within 15 minutes and says the project is ready for commissioning. One of the major issues for the government is getting traders off the rail tracks, despite several warnings on the dangers.
We've had a journey all the way to Iju and back, and I think you as journalists can better report what you saw. Yeah, so we still have a few cleaning to do inside the trains themselves, because they still have wrappers and rest of it. So it's probably just all of that, you know, and to continue to test, you know, the air conditioning, which is working, you know, because they all came from different climatic weather.
The state government says enforcement exercise will continue to clear the train path of unapproved activities.
The challenge around pedestrian on the track, and the kind of wrong things we saw, you know, on those tracks. So you've seen that we continue to do the enforcement. We will continue to do physical barricades on those lines, working with NRC. But the message here is really for our citizens and people that are living virtually on the track, that a track is not a place of residence.
The Red Rail Line infrastructure will be inaugurated on Thursday by President Bola Tinubu. Trips on the rail corridor will be a regular one, and residents must stay away from the tracks to avoid any fatalities.
Well, as you have seen, the governor of Lagos State has tested the red line. It is due for takeoff. In fact, commissioning is to hold tomorrow. We'll get more details about that from Abimbola Akiajo, who is with us here in the studio. She is the Managing Director, Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it must be exciting times for you and your organization.
Yes, we're quite pleased. It's been 2 and a quarter years worth of work, and we're really glad to be here. So to be at this point at this time. How does this red line differ from the blue? So the red line is, first of all, its location. It's going from the north to the south. It's going from Agbado to, the whole length of it will go from Agbado to Marina. We've done the first phase of it, which is going from Agbado to Oyingbo. It's also sharing a track with the NRC tracks. So it's sharing the Lagos-Ibadan rail track system. We will share their track up until Ebute-Metta, and from Ebute-Metta onwards, it would be dedicated to Lagos State Red Line system. The third and major difference is the fact that these ones are not electrified tracks. They will be run by diesel multiple units, and so it's also that difference is in the way in which it is fueled, in the way in which it is powered. And we've had to utilize DMUs because we're sharing track with NRC. I know that in the future, NRC would look at electrifying their own tracks as well, which would be a different system to what we have on the blue line. So those are the three major differences.
You know, naturally, it will be interesting to find out from you what reviews, what are some of the feedback you've gotten from the blue line that might be useful for you know, operating the red line?
Okay, so a lot of the feedback that we've gotten is about, inadequacy of service. One of them is that, the people standing, there's not enough seats. And for now, we have 3 sets of rolling stock. We run 52 commercial services every day on the Blue Line.
Wow.
And the vision is that we will increase it. If you know that recently, Mr. Governor went to China, we have placed an order for 3 additional sets of rolling stock for the Blue Line as well as the Red Line. So the plan for the government is to continue to increase the number of services that we offer. So on the Blue Line, for instance, you get a train every 25 to 30 minutes. That Blue Line is designed for every 3 minutes, so we still have a long way to go. Another one is that there are not enough seats. And really and truly, we just have to continue to educate our people that this is a metro system. The possibility of having adequacy of seats on it, especially during rush hour, does not exist. But in fairness to the people, there has been very good adaptation to a new system, because for us in Lagos, it is a new system. Ensuring that they stand behind the tactile paving, ensuring that they wait for the passengers to come off first. Those sorts of etiquettes we reiterate daily, and they are adhering to it, and they're adhering to it very well. We've made a lot of advocacy around don't cross the tracks, and we find that the Blue Line tracks are not being breached in any way, shape, or form. We've only had 1 incident of someone trying to breach it in the 6 months or so that we've been running, and so that has been very good responses. Now, the big challenge that we have is the integration challenge, and that is, we've had a number of complaints about that, and that's something we're working on. And obviously, we need to take it onto the red, which is when they come. So you think about it, a 2.5 hour journey, you can now do it in 25 minutes. You get to Marina, and you are going to Eco Hotel, or you are going to Victoria Land, and you are now having to wait 30, 40 minutes because the buses are not adequate. So that is the one big complaint that we're getting, inadequacy of the follow-on form of transportation. And we're working with various other private sector players in the market to see how we can increase the number of buses that we have. So the first one, last mile buses, sit under the train station. We have some high capacity buses that come. But if you think about what we have, a rail system will come and will bring about 950 people. A bus will carry, even the high capacity will carry 74 passengers. So the challenge is real, but we are working.
I'm particularly excited about the fact that, the feedback you've gotten from people, that essentially you're saying that people are taking ownership of this product. No vandalization and all those.
So we've not, in all fairness, like I said,
wow,
very good. The people have been very good. We have had very few cases of vandalism. We've had very positive reviews from the people who have said, oh, it's cut my journey. I don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. There was one particular one someone said to me, said, oh, I needed to do something in Lagos Island for 5 o'clock. I looked at my time, it was 4. I knew I couldn't make it. Then I remembered, Blue Line works. And I got there and I was back in my house before 5:30. So he sent me a message to say, well done. So for us, those are very, very positive things. And I find that the big challenge is for them is this integration, and that's what we're going to keep working on.
Okay.
There's not being vandalizing of our infrastructure.
That's amazing.
And I think it's because it's electric. Nobody wants it.
Okay. I don't want to get into that one now, but is that a challenge you're foreseeing with the Red Line?
So it's a challenge for now. If you notice, in the past 3 weeks or so, whilst we've been doing the sensitization for a while, there's been a lot of clearing along the tracks for the Red Line. And that is it's a big challenge for us because it's a mindset position. Those people have been on those tracks for decades. They've been living alongside a rail system for years. And even when we go and we talk to them, and we explain to them, you really can't be here, they tell us, oh, no. We've been here for, why is your own different? We've been running, trains have been running here and we've been here. So we've been telling them, because the frequency will be very different. So NLC would run maybe 2 services in the morning or 2 services all day. By the time we combine ourselves with NLC, there could be 6 services in an hour by the time we're done. So we're telling them, the time is going to take you to move your stuff, you have to move it back. So you cannot, and in fairness, for their own safety, they can't be on the tracks. So we're constantly talking to them, we're constantly moving on. And yes, it is a big challenge, and we really want to implore the people of Lagos to say, kindly do not walk on the track, do not do commerce on the track, do not sell on the tracks, do not even use it as a shortcut. Some people feel they can just cross the rail tracks to get to the other side. We're putting pedestrian bridges everywhere. There is no way anybody should be interacting with tracks. It's very dangerous.
Anyway, maybe that's ongoing conversation. But then that is for the blue line, which is electrified.
Describe the red.
Oh, it's also...
It's a big problem on the red.
Okay.
It's a huge problem on the red. They're selling on... We don't have that problem on the blue anymore. But the red is where we have the problem.
Okay.
Because people are there. Before doing Blue Station, which is one of the stations that we have, which is integrated with that bus terminal. It's like a market.
Okay. Describe to us how the red line will work.
Okay, so the red line will start from Agbado and go to Oyingbo. It is integrated with the intercity rail system. So the Lagos to Ibadan rail system, we share their tracks, like I said, from Agbado to Ebute Metta. Now, if you get onto any of our stations, we have stations at Agbado, Iju, Agege, Ikeja, Oyingbo, Mushi, Yaba, and 7, 8. The last one is Oyingbo, I think. Correct. So what that does for you is that imagine if you're coming from Ibadan and you want to access those stations. You come from Ibadan on the intercity rail system. You get off at Agege. Now at Agege, our own station, so the intercity station and ours are adjacent. You can walk and get onto our station, get onto the red line that will give you access to all these stations I've mentioned. If you continue on the Lagos-Ibadan, the only station you'll be able to access would be the Ebute Metta junction, because that's the next station they will stop at. So there's integration between us and the intercity system. The system will run on diesel, like I said, so we will have diesel DMUs. The first set of coaches that we will be using are the trains that Mr. Governor went to Milwaukee to get. They're 10 and 11 car coaches. They will be able to, each coach will take about 100 people, so they will be able to move 1,000, 1,100 people every time we move it. And we're working with NLC to ensure that we sync our programs, we sync our timetables, such that we will have set times and they will have set times. We also have integration between our bus terminals. So we have the train station and the bus terminal in Yaba, for instance. They're 2-3 minute walk away. The same with Oyingbo, the same with Ikeja. In Agege, we're creating a bus halting station around it. So what we're trying to do is to encourage or to bring forth this integration system that Lagos has been talking about, multimodal integration. So on the red line, all of the stations, we're ensuring that we have bus terminals that integrate with it, whilst we also integrate with intercity.
Talk to us about security.
Okay.
On the track, on the train itself, during the train service and all. Are there issues people need to give attention to? Okay,
so with what we've done with security, and that has been fully implemented on the Blue, we have track cameras, we have station cameras, but we also work with the police. But more importantly, we work with Lagos State Neighborhood Watch, and they mingle with our passengers. So if there's any issue, they can quickly discern it and then put a call through to the police, so that when the passenger comes off, there'll be somebody waiting to pick them up. In terms of security of our assets, the cameras have been hugely useful. We have control rooms. We have a central control room that belongs to LAMATA, and we see everything on the blue line. And that's what will happen on the red line as well. So there'll be cameras on the red line. There'll be cameras along the track. There'll be cameras within the stations. And all of that will also be linked back to LAMATA's control center. But beyond that, we will have two major stations on the red, just like we have on the blue, National Theatre and Marina. There are two major control centers along the blue line, and there are control centers within those stations. And there are people there manning those cameras 24/7. And that's the same thing we'll do on the red.
You know, naturally, a number of people will be looking at one of the issues a number of people will be interested in is profitability. We've heard it said over and over again that rail services are very expensive, they are enablers and all of that. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't pay for itself, there's going to be questions about how sustainable it is.
Okay. All right. So the one thing, you've said it, you cannot, I don't believe a government will look at the rail system and be looking to recoup its money that it's used to build it. But what we are trying to do is to ensure that whatever we earn from that infrastructure can operate it. And I think that's where the government is at. The ability to also, over time, look at other ways and means of ensuring that we earn money that will then make it. It would never really be profitable, but it would make sense. It would begin to make sense to government. And that means that you need to look at other forms of revenue that you need to learn to flog that asset. You need to look at other forms of revenue you can get and generate from it. So you build TODs around your stations. You ensure that your stations have commercial outlets that you can rent out. You ensure that advertising is rife on that asset that you have. The position must be that government must look at that asset and ensure that that asset is worked to bring in as much revenue as it can. And I think that is the way that all over the world you begin to utilize your real assets. So you are correct. There's no country that's making money out of railway, but the money that the state will make is ease of movement, economic growth. When people can move easily, I can do more business. If I take 4 hours to do my to and fro journey and suddenly I'm doing it in 1.5, I'm freed up to do more business. And that means government gets more tax, people are more gainfully employed, the city is better for it.
Well, I'm not sure that my colleagues in Abuja will want to join in on this conversation, but let me just ask you this. How many, just for those who don't know, this is the second in the long list. How many are there, and why are there so many?
Okay, so we have 6 metro systems, and we have one monorail system. And what it is that in any city, you must look at your population. So the Strategic Transport Master Plan did a holistic view of what happens in Lagos, how people move, where people are living, where people are likely to live in the future, dependent on how you have built your infrastructure. To that end, Lagos is a city that has over 20 million people, and that's being conservative. And it is slated to be one of the largest cities in the world. So you are looking to accommodate, not just accommodate, but to move 25, 30 million people daily. So therefore, you need a very robust transportation system. And I guess that speaks to the why we have 6. Most cities have more than us. There is a lot. And the reason we are even constrained to the 6 for now is because of space. Lagos has all these people, but really and truly it's a very small city in terms of size. So what we have done is to maximize the design of these rail systems. We've ensured connectivity between the rail systems, so the 6 that we have, they connect adequately together such that you can change and ensure that you can complete your journey. But beyond that, we keep talking about an integrated intermodal system. That integrated intermodal system takes cognizance of the fact that Lagos is surrounded by water. Lagos State is developing its water transportation. We're developing our road transportation. The minute we ensure that we have connectivity between those modes and people can go from one to the other seamlessly in systems integration, location integration, fare systems integration, then people will find movement a lot easier. And when we do, and that's part of the reason we have 6 plus 1 monorail.
Well, I want to ask you about how many states, if any, have come to you to Lagos to say, look, Can we understand exactly how this runs, whether you have had any such, you may want to speak to it later, but I want to first of all find out from you. You spoke about the challenge of educating people about the need to vacate the rail lines and communities and under bridges and all of that. There are those who will chunk that in the department of inadequate communication, because it is one thing to push out information to people. It's another thing for people to own the information to the level of saying, look, we're going to do this simply because we believe what the authorities are doing is a good thing for us. Okay,
so good question. And when we look at it, and I will take the Blue Line as an example. Before we started the Blue Line was like a myriad of people lived on the tracks. And we had everything and anything going on the tracks, because the people could not see why you were telling them to leave. Now, we've had all of those months of advocacy, we've spoken to them, we went out regularly, and now we don't have anybody on the tracks. Now, with the Red Line, the challenge we have is the fact that they've been there for decades, like I said. So it's not going to be something that will happen overnight. And what we're doing is we're constantly talking to them. We're constantly going there. Mr. Governor himself has been along that corridor at least 4 times in the past 5 or 6 months. And he himself, when he goes out, he stands with the community, he explains to them. We push out information regularly. We're on radio, we're on jingles, but more importantly, we go to those communities. We go to the local government chairmen, they speak to them. We ourselves, with the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Information, we go out, we engage the market women who are there, the people who are there, and we explain to them why they can't. And what you're going to find is it will be something that will happen over time. In that sense, we also have to be responsible to ensure that in our rollout, we take cognizance of the fact that people have to get used to it. So we will not start 6 trains an hour from when we start. We will start maybe 11 trains a day. And we're continuing to talk, because what we know is that it has to be a sustained effort. And when people see, you will realize that Lagosians do interesting things, but when they actually get it, they get it, and they won't go there. They will find other places to go.
Let me ask you, people listening to you now may want to engage with the authority, with LAMATA, and say, look, you need to give attention to this and give attention to that. In the name of engagement, how do they reach your
So we're very active on social media.
Okay. All right.
Very active on social media. And please don't ask me, Mike. Too old.
Well, okay, so talk to us about the commissioning. You said it's happening tomorrow.
So the commissioning that's happening tomorrow is a definitive statement that says that all of our infrastructure is ready. Okay. So we expect Mr. President, we expect a lot of people from all over Nigeria to come. And that means that we can now start testing. So the whole of tomorrow we'll take the president on an inaugural ride on one of our trains. And then once that is over, that's a ceremony that says we're done. Okay. We now begin the testing, and we will test.
So it's not ready for use?
For commercial, no.
Commercial, yes.
It is ready for use, but we will not go commercial immediately.
For how long do we have to wait?
So we will, this will be a lot shorter than the red, because the red was electric.
You mean the blue?
I'm sorry, I apologize.
I understand.
The blue would be, the red would be a lot shorter than the blue. Okay. So we expect no more than 2 months. Okay. And in that time, it would be constant engagement. And we would push out the trains and people would begin to get used to it. We would also invite, just like we did with the blue, the public. We would take the public, we will take them on it. All right. Things like payment now, most people understand it because it's the same payment system that we use on the blue that we will use on the red. Okay. So we will do that for a couple of months and then we will announce.
Well, exciting times await Lagosians, I seem to be hearing. We have to thank you very much this morning for being here with us. Abimbola Akinjo is the Managing Director, Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA. She joined us here in the studio. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm not sure it's the same experience you guys are getting in Abuja right now. You have to wait for your trains, right? Chamberlain and Mokwe.
Just because it's wearing a red tie, now we won't get the last of it.
Wonders never cease.
We're happy for you, Ayo.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
We did have some messages coming through. Kenneth, talking about the Onosane report, says, good move by the federal government, but we should not forget, as a nation, that the country need to reduce the cost of running political offices at all levels of government to enable the poor breathe, he says.
That's from Kenneth. Well, this one is from Dixon Eka, which we couldn't take yesterday. He says, I commend the courage and doggedness of President Tinubu for trying to implement the RSI's report, which his predecessors could not attempt to implement. But I hope this is not a calculated attempt to divert Nigerians' attention from the current severe hardships in the country. Civil service reforms are needed to cut cost of governance and to enhance fiscal responsibility. But the major wastages affecting the country are mostly with the federal government in the executive and legislative arms. Is it a case of robbing Peter to pay Paul? How can the government with an oversized cabinet be the one to merge some agencies? By my personal assessment, the cost of maintaining one minister may be more than running cost of some of these agencies. So why not make it one minister per state first? Mr. President should consider reducing the budget to his office, that of his ministers, and that of the National Assembly. If we may take this seriously, it must not be civil service alone. I think Professor Iridia also said the same thing.
Yeah.
Ayo.
Yeah, Abola Bolade is speaking about the labor strike, and he says the government should provide the enabling environment for the NLC to protest while working on the economy. We were using borrowed funds to subsidize fuel and the exchange rate for decades and busted our borrowing limit shortly before the end of the last government. The bold initiative to correct the pervasive and unsustainable anomalies is the source of the pains we're going through. There is, however, hope at the end of the tunnel. The government must ensure everyone is having a dose of the pains from the president to the messenger in our offices.
Thank you all for your messages. We do appreciate you all. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain. What's up? Goodbye.
Can't believe it's Wednesday already. But whatever happens, we hope that you've achieved some of your objectives this week, just as Labour said they have with their protest. Wishing you a very productive day ahead. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
What are you contributing to Nigeria today? Let that ring in your mind the rest of the day. I'm Ayo Makinde. You have a wonderful day.